The merchant vessel Star Whisper drifted silently through the darkness of space, its sleek form barely visible against the backdrop of distant stars. Inside the bridge, Captain Reed's bioluminescent skin cast a soft blue glow across the control panels, a trait common to all Lumerians. His light patterns shifted to show worry as he studied the sensor readings before him. "Movement detected in Sector 7, reported Officer Brown, her delicate fingers dancing across the holographic display. Like most of the crew, she belonged to a low-gravity species, with a tall, thin frame that would snap like a twig under Earth's crushing gravity. Reed's glow patterns flickered faster. "Show me." The main screen lit up, revealing 3 dark shapes moving through the asteroid field ahead. They weren't supposed to encounter any other ships in this sector. The Star Whisper carried too valuable a cargo to take regular shipping lanes, rare minerals from the outer colonies, worth more than the ship itself. "Energy signatures match known pirate vessels," Brown said, her voice trembling slightly. "Specifically, the Black Void Gang." The captain's skin flashed red with alarm. The Black Void pirates were notorious throughout this arm of the galaxy. They showed no mercy, leaving no survivors to tell tales of their attacks. Even worse, they had somehow positioned themselves perfectly. The dense asteroid field blocked any escape route except straight through their waiting weapons. "Engines to full power," Reed ordered. "Send out a distress call on all standard frequencies." The ship's engines hummed louder, but the Star Whisper's civilian drive system was no match for military-grade pursuit vessels. The pirates had planned this well, letting their prey come to them while hiding their own signatures among the asteroid field's natural interference. They're powering up weapons. Brown's 4 eyes widened with fear. Multiple targeting locks detected. The first shot came as a warning, a plasma bolt that sizzled past their bow close enough to make the shields flare bright purple. The message was clear: surrender or die. "Shields at maximum," Reed commanded, his skin now pulsing between red and blue as he fought to remain calm. "Begin emergency maneuvers pattern Delta." The Star Whisper banked hard, weaving between floating rocks the size of small moons, but each turn only brought them closer to either the waiting pirates or the deadly asteroid field. The ship shuddered as a second shot clipped their rear shields. "Shield strength at 60%. Officer Green called from the engineering station. "We can't take many more hits like that." Reed watched the tactical display with growing despair. The pirates were hurting them, using precision fire to force the merchant vessel exactly where they wanted it to go. His crew of 15, all from peaceful spacefaring species, stood no chance against hardened criminals in a direct confrontation. "Captain," Brown's voice cracked with fear, "they're deploying boarding tubes." The bridge fell silent except for the wail of warning sirens. Everyone knew what happened to crews captured by the Black Void. Death would be a mercy compared to being sold to certain alien species that existed beyond the edges of civilized space. Reed's skin darkened to deep indigo, the color of deep thought among his people. They had one option left, but even suggesting it might cause panic among the crew. Their cargo hold contained enough valuable minerals to make them all wealthy, but it wouldn't matter if they didn't survive to spend it. "Officer Brown," he said finally, his skin settling into a determined purple glow, "access the emergency frequencies, all of them, including—" He paused, "including the human channels." The bridge crew gasped. Brown's hands trembled over the controls. "Captain, you can't mean—" "We're out of options," Reed said firmly. "With no escape left, we need a Deathworlder. Send the call. Let's hope the humans are as protective of merchants as the stories say." As Brown began broadcasting their desperate plea for help, Reed watched the pirate ships drawing closer. He could only hope that choosing to trust humanity's violent reputation would prove better than facing the pirates alone. Sometimes, he thought, you needed a monster to fight monsters. The emergency beacon pulsed out into space, broadcasting on frequencies that most civilized species avoided. Officer Brown's fingers shook as she adjusted the signal strength, pushing it to maximum power. The bridge of the Star Whisper had grown uncomfortably quiet, broken only by the steady beep of the distress call and the distant thud of pirate weapons hitting their shields. Shields at 40%. Officer Green reported, his gray skin turning pale with stress. The pirates are taking their time, wearing us down. Captain Reed's bioluminescence had dimmed to barely a flicker, showing his deep concentration. He knew the stories about humans, just like everyone else. Their home planet Earth was a death trap by galactic standards. Crushing gravity, extreme temperature swings, and aggressive predators everywhere. The humans themselves were built like tanks, with dense muscles and thick bones that could snap a Lumerian in half by accident. Signal broadcasting on all human emergency channels, Brown announced. But Captain, what if they're worse than the pirates? Before Reed could answer, a new voice crackled through their communication system. It sounded oddly cheerful, almost casual. This is Lieutenant Walker of the Earth Defense Force vessel Swift Justice. Picked up your distress call. Sounds like you folks are having a rough day. The bridge crew stared at each other in shock. They hadn't expected such a fast response, or such a relaxed tone. Reed cleared his throat. This is Captain Reed of the merchant vessel Star Whisper. We are under attack by 3 pirate vessels, identified as Black Void gang members, requesting immediate assistance. Black Void, huh? Walker's voice carried a note of recognition. Those guys have been causing trouble. How's your shield strength looking? 35% and dropping, Green called out. Reed repeated the information, adding, we have a crew of 15 and valuable cargo. The pirates are attempting to force us into a boarding situation. A sound came through the comm that confused the entire bridge crew. Walker was chuckling. Yeah, they like doing that. Hang tight, Star Whisper. I'm about 8 minutes out from your position. Try to keep your shields up until then. Officer Brown's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. A single ship against 3 pirate vessels. The comm crackled again. Don't worry about the numbers. Just keep broadcasting your position and stay alive. Walker out. The next few minutes felt like hours. The pirates continued their methodical attack, each shot bringing the shields closer to failure. Through the main viewport, the crew could see the boarding tubes getting closer, like metal snakes reaching for their hull. Shields at 20%. Green's voice had risen several octaves. We can't take much more. Reed's skin flashed with patterns of worry. Had they made a mistake? What could one human ship do against 3 well-armed pirate vessels? Suddenly, Brown sat up straighter. New contact. Coming in fast from Sector 9. The main screen showed a small ship emerging from FTL travel. It was barely half the size of the Star Whisper, painted in the dark blue colors of Earth's Defense Force. It looked almost tiny compared to the pirate vessels. The human's voice came through again, still sounding impossibly calm. Star Whisper, this is Swift Justice. I see the situation. Recommend you cut power to your forward shields and route it to your aft section. Things are about to get a bit exciting. A bit exciting, Brown whispered, her voice shaking. What does that mean? They got their answer moments later. The small human ship accelerated to speeds that seemed impossible, weaving through asteroid debris like it was standing still. The pirates, momentarily surprised by the new arrival, turned their weapons toward the Swift Justice. Reed watched in amazement as the human vessel dove straight toward the nearest pirate ship, weapons blazing. No sane pilot would attempt such a risky maneuver through an asteroid field. But then again, humans weren't known for following normal rules of safety. Transfer power to aft shields as requested, Reed ordered, his skin glowing with a mix of fear and hope. And let's pray we made the right choice calling for human help. As the Swift Justice engaged the pirates in what looked like an impossible battle, Reed realized they were about to witness firsthand why humans had earned their reputation as the galaxy's most feared warriors. Lieutenant Walker sat in the pilot's seat of the Swift Justice, a slight smile on his face as he guided his ship through the asteroid field. Most species considered this kind of flying suicide, but for him, it was just another day at work. The small ship responded to his commands instantly, making adjustments that would turn most aliens into jelly. "Swift justice to Star Whisper," he called out while dodging a plasma bolt from the nearest pirate ship. "You might want to hold onto something. This is going to look pretty crazy from your end." The Swift Justice spun between two asteroids, using them as cover. Walker had fought the Black Void gang before. They relied too much on their bigger ships and fancy weapons. They never expected anyone to turn an asteroid field into a weapon. "Are you actually flying through the debris field?" Captain Reed's voice came through, filled with disbelief. His ship's sensors showed the Swift Justice pulling maneuvers that should have torn it apart. "Sure am," Walker replied, flipping his ship upside down to avoid another blast. "Your pirates' friends aren't very creative. They always expect people to run away from the asteroids, not toward them." He demonstrated his point by diving straight toward a spinning rock the size of his ship. The pirates fired, expecting him to pull away. Instead, Walker skimmed the asteroid's surface, letting it absorb the pirates' shots. The Swift Justice emerged on the other side untouched, while chunks of the asteroid flew toward the nearest pirate vessel. "Human ship," a rough voice cut through the comm channel. "This is Captain Black of the Void Raiders. Leave now, and we might let you live." Walker actually laughed. "You know, the funny thing about humans is we really don't like bullies, especially bullies who pick on merchant ships." He paused to launch a barrage of missiles at the pirates' shields. "Also, Captain Black. Really? That's the best name you could come up with." On the Star Whisper's bridge, the alien crew watched in amazement. The human ship moved like nothing they'd ever seen, turning the deadly asteroid field into a strange kind of dance floor. Every time the pirates thought they had a clear shot, the Swift Justice would use the Space Rocks as shields or weapons. "That's impossible," Officer Brown whispered, all four eyes wide as she tracked the battle. "The G-forces alone should have knocked him unconscious." "Humans evolved on a high-gravity world," Green reminded her, equally fascinated. "Their bodies can handle forces that would kill most species." Walker's voice came through again, still sounding impossibly calm despite the chaos around him. "Star Whisper, I'm going to need you to trust me for about 30 seconds. When I give the word, fire everything you've got at the coordinates I'm sending. Don't worry about hitting me." Captain Reed's skin flashed with uncertainty, but he nodded to his weapons officer. "Coordinates received. Ready on your mark." The Swift Justice suddenly shot straight up, drawing all three pirate ships' attention. Then, just as quickly, it dove straight down, heading directly toward the Star Whisper as if about to crash. "Human." Reed's skin flashed bright red with alarm. "You're on a collision course. Now," Walker called out, "fire everything." The Star Whisper's weapons opened up just as the Swift Justice pulled up sharply. The pirates, focused on following Walker's ship, flew straight into the merchant vessel's barrage. Their shields, already weakened from chasing the Swift Justice through the asteroids, couldn't handle the unexpected attack. "Nice shooting." Walker cheered as one of the pirate ships lost power to its engines. "See what happens when we work together. Now let me show you why humans have a reputation for finishing what we start." The alien crew watched in stunned silence as their small human protector turned to face the remaining pirates. They had heard stories about human combat abilities, but seeing it in person was something entirely different. For the first time since the pirates appeared, Captain Reed allowed his skin to glow with a color that meant hope. The real battle was about to begin. The disabled pirate ship drifted helplessly through space, its engines dark and silent. But the battle was far from over. The two remaining vessels of the Black Void gang had regrouped, positioning themselves between the Swift Justice and the Star Whisper. "Your luck is running out, human." Captain Black's voice crackled through the comm. "You may have surprised us once, but now we're ready for your tricks." Walker checked his ship's systems while keeping an eye on the asteroid field around them. "You know what's interesting about human history?" he asked casually. We spent thousands of years fighting each other before we ever met aliens. That means thousands of years developing combat tactics." As he spoke, the swift Justice was already moving. Instead of diving away from the pirates' next attack, Walker's ship accelerated straight toward them. On the Star Whisper's bridge, Officer Brown gasped, "He's going to get himself killed." Captain Reed's skin pulsed with nervous light as he watched. The human ship looked so small compared to the pirate vessels, like a tiny fish charging at two sharks. "Look at his trajectory," Green said suddenly, pointing at the tactical display. "He's not aiming for the ships. He's aiming for the space between them." The pirates had positioned themselves perfectly to catch the swift Justice in a crossfire, but as they opened fire, Walker pulled off a maneuver that made the alien crew question everything they knew about space combat. The swift Justice rolled sideways through the gap between the pirate ships, engines firing in short, precise bursts. Each blast from the pirates missed by mere meters. Then, using the momentum of the roll, Walker fired a spread of missiles at point-blank range into the belly of one ship while his main guns targeted the other. Brown struggled to find words. "That's not possible. The computer calculations alone would take too long to plot that course." "Humans don't rely just on computers," Reed replied, his glow patterns showing amazement. "They trust something they call instinct." The pirates were learning this lesson the hard way. Their ships were bigger and more heavily armed, but they couldn't match the swift Justice's agility or its pilot's seemingly impossible reaction time. Every time they thought they had Walker cornered, he would pull off another maneuver that defied their combat algorithms. Having trouble keeping up, Walker's cheerful voice taunted the pirates. "Don't worry, this is just a basic warm-up exercise for human pilots." One of the pirate ships suddenly sparked as a missile found a weak spot in its shields. The vessel lurched sideways, nearly colliding with its partner. "Star Whisper," Walker called out, "your shields recovered enough for some more action. I could use a dance partner for the next part." Reed's skin flashed with surprise, but he straightened in his chair. "Shields at 60%. What do you need us to do?" "Just follow my lead. Remember how we worked together before? Let's do it again. But this time we're going to show these pirates why you don't mess with merchant ships under human protection." The Star Whisper's crew watched as Walker transmitted a series of simple instructions. The plan seemed crazy, just like everything else the human had done so far. But after watching the swift Justice in action, they were starting to believe that maybe crazy was exactly what they needed. "This is insane," Brown muttered, but her hands were already moving to follow Walker's instructions. "Maybe," Reed agreed, his skin glowing with a mix of fear and excitement. "But I'm starting to understand why humans have such a unique reputation in the galaxy. Officer Green, power up the main drives. Let's show these pirates what happens when you combine human combat skills with a merchant crew's determination." As the Star Whisper moved into position, the crew could almost feel the pirates' confusion. No merchant ship had ever fought back like this before. But then again, no merchant ship had ever fought alongside a human before. The real lesson was about to begin. The Star Whisper moved into formation behind the swift Justice, following Walker's plan. The pirate ships, both damaged but still dangerous, regrouped for another attack. "Ready for the big finish?" Walker asked, his voice still carrying that strange human cheerfulness. "Remember, timing is everything." Captain Reed's skin pulsed with determined blue light. "We're ready. Though I still think this plan is impossible." "Impossible?" Walker laughed. "On Earth, we have a saying. Impossible just means no one's done it yet." The swift Justice suddenly accelerated toward the pirates, but this time the Star Whisper followed close behind. The pirates, expecting another tricky maneuver, spread out to catch them in a crossfire. "Now," Walker called out. The merchant ship's engines flared to full power. At the same time, the swift Justice cut its main drive and fired its maneuvering thrusters, spinning 180 degrees in an instant. The human ship was now flying backward, its weapons facing the pirates while the Star Whisper provided forward thrust from behind. "This is madness," Officer Brown shouted, her four eyes wide with disbelief. But it worked. The pirates' targeting computers couldn't handle the unexpected formation. Their shots went wide as Walker opened fire with perfect accuracy, his weapons finding weak spots in their already damaged shields. "That's the thing about humans," Walker explained as he worked the controls. "We don't just think outside the box. We take the box, tear it up, and make something new out of it." The first pirate ship's shields failed completely. Walker's next shot disabled its weapons, leaving it defenseless. The second pirate vessel tried to retreat, but the Star Whisper was already executing the next part of the plan. Using the momentum from their combined maneuver, the merchant ship broke formation and swung around, catching the fleeing pirate in a surprise attack. Their cargo might be valuable, but the Star Whisper was still built to handle the dangers of deep space. "Captain Black," Walker called out to the remaining active pirate ship. "Want to guess what happens next, or should we show you?" The pirate captain's response was cut off as the Swift Justice launched its final attack. Moving with impossible speed, Walker's ship darted between asteroid chunks, using them as cover while closing the distance. The pirate vessel fired desperately, but couldn't land a single hit. "Impossible," Captain Black's voice crackled through the comm. "No ship can move like that." "No normal ship, maybe," Walker replied. "But this is a human-designed vessel, built to match our reflexes. And right now, you're learning why picking on merchant ships in human space is a really bad idea." The Swift Justice's final attack was swift and precise. A barrage of missiles took out the pirates' engines, while precise shots from the main guns disabled their weapons. In less than a minute, all three pirate vessels floated helplessly in space. On the Star Whisper's bridge, the crew stared in stunned silence at their tactical displays. The entire battle had lasted less than 15 minutes. That, Officer Green struggled to find words. "That was amazing," Walker suggested, his ship moving to take up a protective position next to the Star Whisper. "Don't worry, the Earth Defense Force has already dispatched prison ships to pick up our pirate friends. They'll have plenty of time to think about their career choices in a nice, secure cell." Captain Reed's skin glowed with a mixture of relief and awe. "Lieutenant Walker, we don't know how to thank you." "Just doing my job," Walker replied cheerfully. "Though I have to say, your crew handled themselves pretty well. Not many merchant ships would be brave enough to join in the fight." As the adrenaline of battle faded, the Star Whisper's crew began to realize something important. They had just witnessed firsthand why humans were considered Deathworlders, but also why that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes, having a Deathworlder on your side was exactly what you needed. With the battle over, Lieutenant Walker docked his ship with the Star Whisper to help with repairs. The merchant crew watched nervously as their airlock cycled open, none of them having seen a human up close before. Walker stepped through the doorway, and several crew members took an instinctive step back. He wasn't particularly tall by human standards, but his solid frame and dense muscle structure made him look like a living tank compared to the delicate alien species around him. "Hope you don't mind if I brought some tools," he said, lifting a heavy repair kit with one hand as if it weighed nothing. The same kit would have required 3 of the Star Whisper's crew to carry. Captain Reed's skin pulsed with cautious blue light. "We appreciate your help, Lieutenant. Our engine room took some damage during the fight." "Just call me Walker," the human replied with a friendly smile. "And don't worry about the damage. Fixing things is actually my favorite part of the job." As they walked to the engine room, Officer Brown couldn't help but ask, "How did you learn to fly like that? Our best simulation programs can't even calculate those maneuvers." Walker thought for a moment while examining a damaged power conduit. "Well, on Earth, we have these things called roller coasters, machines built just to move people around really fast for fun. Most humans ride them as children. Compared to that, space combat is pretty straightforward." The alien crew exchanged confused looks. What kind of species would build machines just to experience dangerous sensations for entertainment? There, Walker said, easily lifting a replacement panel that would have needed a mechanical lift for the regular crew. Your power systems should be back to normal now. Want to tell me what valuable cargo made those pirates so interested in your ship? Reed's skin flickered with hesitation before answering. Rare minerals from the outer colonies, worth enough to attract unwanted attention, as we discovered. Ah, Walker nodded, moving on to repair a damaged shield generator. That explains why they were so persistent. You know, you could have just given up the cargo and saved yourselves the trouble. The cargo wasn't just valuable. Green spoke up. It's needed for medical supplies in the Centauri sector. Without it, thousands could die. Walker's casual expression changed to one of understanding. Now that's something worth fighting for. You know, most species think humans are just violent because we evolved on a death world. But really, we fight hardest when we're protecting something important. As they worked together on repairs, the crew began to notice something surprising. Despite his intimidating appearance and incredible combat skills, Walker was patient and careful with the delicate ship systems. His powerful hands, capable of crushing metal, gently adjusted sensitive components. I don't understand, Brown finally said. If humans are so powerful, why do you help smaller ships like ours? You could easily take whatever you want. Walker paused in his work, looking serious for the first time. Because that's not who we are. Sure, humans can be dangerous. We had to be to survive on Earth. But our strength means we have a responsibility to protect those who need help. Is that why you came alone? Reed asked, his skin showing curious patterns. Most species would have waited for backup. Backup would have taken too long, and you needed help right away. Walker shrugged. Besides, humans have a saying, with great power comes great responsibility. We take that pretty seriously. As the repairs neared completion, the Star Whisper's crew found their fear of the human gradually replaced by respect. Yes, he was a Deathworlder with terrifying capabilities, but those same capabilities had saved their lives and their important cargo. There's something else you should know, Walker said as he closed the last panel. I've already sent word to Earth Defense Force. From now on, this shipping route will be regularly patrolled by human ships. Those pirates won't be coming back. Captain Reed's skin glowed with grateful blue light. Perhaps, he thought, having Deathworlders in the galaxy wasn't such a bad thing after all. Sometimes the strongest warriors made the best protectors. 3 months after the battle with the Black Void pirates, Captain Reed stood before the Galactic Trade Federation's council. His skin glowed with confident blue patterns as he delivered his report. And so, he concluded, I formally request that the Federation establish official cooperation with Earth's Defense Force for merchant vessel protection. The council chamber erupted in murmurs. A tall, silvery counselor rose from his seat. Captain Reed, are you suggesting we invite Deathworlders to patrol our trade routes? The very idea seems dangerous. Reed's skin flashed with determination. With respect, Counselor, I once thought the same way. But let me tell you what happened after our encounter with Lieutenant Walker. The chamber grew quiet as Reed activated a holographic display. It showed statistics from the past 3 months. Pirate attacks in the sector had dropped by 80%. Merchant ships were completing their routes faster, knowing they had protection. The humans don't just fight well, Reed explained. They understand something we didn't. Sometimes the best way to prevent violence is to be strong enough to stop it before it starts. Another counselor spoke up. But their aggressive nature is precisely what makes them perfect for this role. Reed interrupted, his skin pulsing with emphasis. They channel their strength into protection. Since that day, I've learned that human ships patrol some of the most dangerous routes without payment, simply because they believe it's right. A hologram shifted to show the medical facilities in the Centauri sector. The minerals we carried that day helped save thousands of lives. Without human intervention, those supplies would have been lost. In the back of the chamber, Reed spotted a familiar face. Walker stood quietly, wearing a formal Earth Defense Force uniform. The human gave a small nod of encouragement. The pirates feared humans, Reed continued, but they feared them for the wrong reasons. We all did. We saw their strength and assumed it meant danger. We never considered it could mean safety. The council listened as Reed shared more stories. Tales of human ships responding to distress calls without hesitation, of them putting themselves in harm's way to protect civilian vessels, of their determination to make space safer for everyone. Yes, humans are different from us, Reed acknowledged. They evolved on a world that would crush most of us. They can endure forces that would kill us instantly. They think in ways that seem impossible. But these aren't reasons to fear them. They're reasons to be grateful they're on our side. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Finally, the head counselor spoke. Your recommendation is unexpected, Captain Reed, but your evidence is compelling. Perhaps it's time we reconsidered our view of Earth and its people. After the session ended, Walker met Reed in the corridor. Nice speech, the human said with a smile, though you made us sound pretty impressive. Reed's skin glowed with amusement. I only spoke the truth, though I still don't understand why humans are so willing to help others at their own risk. Walker thought for a moment. You know, on Earth, we have these tiny insects called bees. They're not very big or strong compared to other creatures. But when their hive is threatened, they'll fight much larger enemies to protect their community. Humans are kind of like that, but we've decided the whole galaxy is our hive. As they walked together, Reed noticed how other aliens no longer shied away from Walker like they once would have. Change was happening, slowly but surely. Besides, Walker added with a grin, life would be pretty boring if we only looked out for ourselves. Reed's skin flickered with what humans would call laughter. Perhaps that was the greatest lesson they'd learned. Strength wasn't just about having power, it was about how you chose to use it. The story of the merchant ship that called a Deathworlder would be told many times in the years to come, but it would be remembered not as a tale of fear, but as the moment when the galaxy learned that sometimes the most dangerous ally could become the most trusted friend. After all, in the vastness of space, it was good to have a Deathworlder on your side.